So, warm welcome from my side. We'd like to present you the goal, challenge and solution of prominence regulation in Germany. This is Benedikt, Rainer and me. Since some weeks we're working on a proof of concept, public value in the car. The partners in this proof of concept are Audi and Cariat for the Volkswagen Group, our subsidiary BMT and the Bavarian regulator. Before I describe the goal, let me just bring two aspects first. Local media is a cornerstone for democracy. We heard it today several times. German public confirms a high relevance on local journalism. Every second person is using local news on a daily basis. There are much more figures, I don't want to go deep in them. Meanwhile, we see local media as a democratic infrastructure, and we need to take care about it even in these days. Another aspect, what does prominence, public value as we call it wrongly in German, mean? Down you see the Angebote in besonderem Maßstab, die einen Beitrag zur Meinungs- und Angebotsvielfalt leisten. This is the written law in Germany. I try to translate it: services that make a significant contribution to diversity of opinion and media plurality across Germany. This is what we're talking about when we say public value. And why do we do this? Let's take a look at platform economics. Platforms are increasingly shifting from neutral distributors to algorithm-driven selectors. Broadcasting, including this public value content, is at the risk of being displaced. And the broadcasting terminology is being adopted for non-broadcasting services, such as radio. You all know this streamer with a new logo. You can find a radio station there, but this is not radio. So the German media law requires broadcasting must be directly accessible and easy to find on the first selection level of a media platform, such as a dashboard in the car. What is public value? All public services, television doesn't matter here, all private broadcasting programs and telemedia services classified by the regulator. We have a media thing for this, and these public value offers must be easy to be found. How do we get this running? We divided Germany in 44 regions, as you can see on the right side. We expect a geo-located display on the dashboard. The basis for the regions is the terrestrial distribution, analog and digital, as well as the assigned broadcast areas, so we do not take care about any overspill. We sort in each region the content into 4 containers. You can see on the very left side of the slide. The first container is local content. Again, local is important. The second container is statewide. The third is nationwide. And on the fourth container, there are independent offerings. The listing within these containers should be alphanumeric. We published a list of all these programs, stations within the 44 containers on our web page. This list contains FM and DAB parameters to identify the content clearly. This list, the shapefile with the regions and many more information can be found on the website die-medienanstalten.de. There is even English explanation and FAQs and so on. And some presenting now see a challenge in this goal we have, but now we hear about the challenge.
Thank you, Veit. Yeah, specifically from the view of the automotive industry, we are facing some also technical challenges which we had to clarify also with the German state media authorities. And I just want to highlight the main three challenges we had. First of all, the vehicle as a moving device, so it's not stationary. So we are moving through all these 45 regions you just saw. Also, the second point is this public value data needs to be up to date. So also keeping this up to date in the car is also one of our challenges. And finally, also we are facing the topic with offline vehicles. So basically vehicles which do not have online connectivity within the infotainment system. Regarding the moving device, we clarified also with the authorities that, we are producing cars for all over the world. So which cars are affected by this public value law and which do have to show this? So we agreed that only cars which are sold in Germany and have the country code Germany in it need to fulfill this public value stuff. So for all cars, for example, from France or other countries coming to Germany, they will not show this public value topic in the HMI. To identify the exact position of the car, for sure we also need the GPS location of the car. And as you might know from your smartphone, every app which is using your position needs to get a permission from you. And that's the same also in our cars. So if this permission is not given by the customers, we cannot identify the exact vehicle location. So also in this case, we cannot show public value in the car. Then another topic is, which we heard about, usability, because it needs to be accepted also by the customer. If you are driving, let's say, for example, on a highway where you are crossing the border of the different regions quite frequently, this might to a very high frequency of updating also this public value list. So we said, okay, if you're driving from region A to region B, there needs to be like a timing hysteresis. So you need to have like a timeout when updating and showing this list. In our first approach, we aligned that 2 minutes could be a good first approach to say, okay, only every 2 minutes the vehicle position is updated, and therefore also the public value list is only updated every 2 minutes. This gives a bit more usability because the user is also not distracted by list updates. And if you are driving on a highway, this means that you are basically maximum driving maybe a bit more than 4 kilometers into the new region before the list is updated, which should also be fine for all the broadcasters. The second bigger challenge also for us is keeping this public value data up to date in the car. It is updated from time to time, I guess basically every, let's say, 3 years by the authorities, and therefore we need also to update this data in the car. If we cannot make sure that this data is up to date in the car, we also agreed that we cannot show public value in the car at all, because we want to prevent showing data which is outdated and maybe not showing the correct information. So what opportunities do we have to keep this data up to date and updated in the car? For new cars which are going off the production line, we would need to update the software every time also the public value list is updated. This causes effort for us because we need to implement new part numbers. We also need to do the testing and the approval for all this new software. And as soon as the car is leaving the production line, it could be already out of date. So we need to find a solution also during life cycle to keep this data up to date. One solution would be just updating the software at the OEM dealer. But usually after some years, maybe the user is not going to the OEM dealer anymore, so does not get any updates. And also the frequency between the visits at the dealer might be too long to keep this data updated. And even in between, we do not know if it's still up to date. So basically, this is not really the final solution which we could have. So the other option would be online updates. Online updates, as there's currently no official endpoint from the media authorities to get this information. So we have to use either a third-party app solution or we have to set up our own backend and server infrastructure for this and use it. So this also means for the car manufacturer additional effort and costs to maintain this solution. And during this discussion, we also came up with the third and one of the biggest challenges also then for us. What is happening with so-called offline vehicle for us, so vehicles which do not have online connectivity within their infotainment system. Basically, why are these cars anyway in the market? So there are basically 2 points which are let's say, causing a vehicle to be offline. First of all, basic cars might not even provide internet connectivity to the infotainment system. And secondly, we always have customers which are skeptical about the usage of their data, and so they can activate a privacy mode which prevents the car from sending and receiving data. For these cars, this would also mean that we cannot confirm that the public value data is always up to date. And therefore, for offline vehicle, it's also not possible for us to show public value in the car. So if we are summarizing these three challenges which we have from automotive perspective, we came to the conclusion that also with this online solution, it's not a feasible way, and we need a different solution. We need a solution to update the public value data in the cars in a flexible way without internet connectivity and also with reasonable efforts. And that's when we came up, and together with the BMT and the state authorities, we came up with an idea and started this proof of concept, and Rainer will now present you our solution for this. Thank you. Yeah.
So we heard about goals and challenges. Looks like we need a solution now. And that's exactly what we worked on in the proof of concept. So when we started thinking about this, it was clear from day one that we need to use DAB for it, because we cannot rely on internet connectivity in cars, as Benedikt already stated. So DAB was set from day one on. And we also wanted to use within DAB a method which is already well established, and that was the Service and Program Information, SPI, which is already used for program information, logos, and things like that. So we wanted to use that, but we also wanted to have an option to add connected devices later on. That's the path on the right-hand side, IP transport. But for the proof of concept, we solely concentrated on DAB transmission. That's what we did, and we also looked into supporting devices which cannot determine their actual position, like kitchen radios. For these, we have a solution which is you can manually select your region within the menu, and these devices do not change their position frequently, though this would be feasible as well with this approach. And that's also the reason why we divided this information that Veit already showed you into a part which comprises the station information and another part for the region information. So for these kitchen radios, only the station information is relevant, and the regions do not have to be decoded by these devices. And for the sake of simplicity, we decided to transmit this information always for the whole of Germany, no regionalization, because it's easier to publish, if there's an update, to publish it to every network provider. They can just use these two files and send them in their network, and everything's fine. We don't have to care about this or that region. At least for the start, we think that's okay, and we will later on see what the bandwidth needed is, and I think that's okay to do it like that. So coming to the station information, that's the part where we have an explanation on what public value is. That's an option for car manufacturers to inform users about the idea of public value, a short text which they can just use and which is coming from the regulator. We also have the container names, so you can use them in the user interface to distinguish between local public value stations, regional ones, and national ones. This is also in the container names. And of course, we have the bearer information, how to find FM and DAB stations with their relevant parameters. This is all included here. And of course, an information on the station name and in which region it should be sorted. So for the regional information, Veit already showed you the 44 regions, and they provided shape files for these regions to make sure that we get the right borders from within these regions. But we found out that this information was too large. We had to reduce the file size needed for that. And if we have a look into this area marked with the magnifying glass, we can see on the left-hand side, this is the original file with very detailed polygons, which are not needed in this precision just to decide if a car is in one or the other region. For your reference, you see the 4.3 kilometers range that was mentioned before. This is the 2 minutes update circle, and you can clearly see that this is sufficient to detect if a car is in one or the other regions. And you can also see that the structure of this polygon is still very similar and is completely okay for this use case. And the file size can be reduced by a factor of 20 by that. You can't do that with normal compression. So this approach ends up with a file size for the regions for only 160 kilobytes, which is not a problem to send out in a DAB network. On the right-hand side, you see the region information file, which is also versioned, so the receiver can easily detect if something has changed. They don't have to decode the whole structure. They just check if the version is still the same, which is most probably the case, and then it just knows, still have the updated information and everything's fine. You just wait for the next update then. So how could we transmit this? As I mentioned, we wanted to use SPI. SPI has already 3 content subtypes for the service information, for the program information, for the group information. We added 2 more content subtypes, one for the public value station information and one for the public value region information, which are new. And the colleagues from Fraunhofer supported us in adapting their content server to make it possible to create an ETI file, which we can use or could use for lab tests. The colleagues from Cariad and Audi used them in their labs to make sure that the receivers can decode these new SPI content subtypes. And we used 12 kilobits per second for the whole SPI information. 4 kilobit of that is for our public value test. And this results in a cycle time of 7 minutes. So every 7 minutes, the receiver is updated with new information. So the maximum time to wait for an update would be 7 minutes. For such static information, this is absolutely no problem. Versioning, I already mentioned, reduces the workload for decoding in the receiver. And first tests have been successful. So the colleagues from Cariad and Audi could decode without changing anything in the firmware. So this is quite straightforward to use here. And the next steps will be to set up a transmission, a real transmission in DAB networks. We have a test network in Munich. And we also want to integrate the public value information in the regular DAB network in Ingolstadt, which is the home base for Audi, so they can test with live data in their own region. This is one of the first steps, and the other one is as soon as the demonstrator is ready in car, we will have demos with the real car implementation then. So how does it look? What is the benefit for the user? They have a choice. The traditional sorting order would be more or less alphabetical, so all stations in alphabetical order maybe. And now you have another option to use the public value sorting. You get first you get the public value local stations, then the ones which are regional, and then the national ones. So you have the choice which one to use. And this is just a mock-up here. This is no real user interface, but as you can see, you get markings for public value stations, for instance, in here. So that's basically what we have done so far in the proof of concept. We would like to start a discussion with you if you have, in other countries, have similar things to solve, so we would like to discuss that, maybe find a harmonized approach which can be used European or worldwide. And the best case scenario would be to enhance the SPI specification for this use case. And if we do our job right, maybe we have one innovation which could be which could be then discussed next year. So thank you. 25 seconds.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions about the panel? A very quick hand in the back. Is it on?
We got it? Ah, there we go. Hello. Nick Piggott from Radio DNS. Very interesting set of regulation. I think we understand the ambition for it. Usually when regulation is introduced, there is a kind of impact assessment of what that regulation is going to involve to everybody who has to implement it. Could you give us a bit of an insight into what your impact assessment for this regulation looked like?
Sorry, I did not get the question clearly.
Normally, when you introduce new regulation, you assess how much work is going to be involved for everybody who has to implement it.
I don't think we do it in Germany. Sorry.
Okay. Then I have a question.
Sorry for that. So the law is almost 5 years old now.
Yeah.
We have the second term of public value definition. We published in October. You have 6 months' time to make it running, and since May 12th, it's the valid law, and every car out there should have a good explanation why it's not working.
But there wasn't an impact assessment done prior to creating the regulation?
Not on this topic.
Okay. I have a question for Rainer. Obviously, you've developed a technical solution to implement the German implementation of public value. We're aware that other countries are considering similar kind of support for similar organisations. Will you be bringing your technical solution into some of the industry groups like the WorldDAB Technical Committee and into Radio DNS to look to harmonise that and align it with other countries' requirements?
Yeah, that's what I just stated at last. Of course, we want to do that, and we are open to discuss it. I just recently learned that you have made a proposal as well, so this was too late for me to get that into our thoughts. But of course, we would like to discuss that and find a harmonized approach about that.
Okay. That's great.
Just one explanation. The idea was to prove in 12 weeks that it's possible, not to make discussions in any working groups. I love these working groups, but we needed a fast solution, just an example for a solution, and now we can start the process of standardization.
Okay, that's good to know.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, right there.
Hello, my name is Laís from Honda. I would like to understand how do you see the interface in countries where the public value is not mandatory? Because when you drive in a country outside Germany, how it would be displayed?
Yes, so maybe from a perspective, so if you are using a German car and driving, for example, to a foreign country, then usually in the HMI, our plan is to show at the top in which region you are. And for example, then if you are outside of Germany, it would just say at the top of the public value list, you are outside of a region which provides public value. And then the driver is already informed that it's not provided or not supported at the current location of the vehicle. That's why we always need the position of the car.
And sorry, once again, we're not forcing anyone using anything. We just want to make sure that this public value content is available as soon as you want to have it. This is the idea.
Right.
Yeah, so the public value list is also there, always in parallel to the original A to Z list. So the customer always has the option to use the known list from A to Z like he's used to. But for example, if personally, I'm driving from the north of Germany to the south, where I maybe, or the other way around, where I'm maybe not so familiar. It's interesting for me also to get to know the local stations, and then I could use the public value list also to see, okay, what are local programs which might give me more information which are relevant maybe for my vacation trip.
Very good. We have another one in the back.
Yeah, Frank Nowak from Ford. We learned today again that reliability and ease to use is one of the keynotes the customer wants. How do you think about the contradiction between these customer wants and the implication that you will see sometimes your station is a public value station and sometimes not? As an example, listening Bavaria 3 in Bavaria, but it is still in Frankfurt audible, and you would not get it as a public value station. That is more confusing than helping, and it is at least not reliable.
I think the users will early learn how to use this additional offer. Once again, it's not forcing anyone, it's an additional offer.
Maybe also to support, let's say, the customer, we want to show the region at the top so that he knows that these are the public value stations for this region. But for sure, this, let's say, at some border crossings might be a bit that also the customer needs to learn. Yeah.
Another one over there.
Yeah, hello, Hans Wolter from Italy. A question to Veit. How do you compile the list of public value stations? What is a public value station? Is it a public service? Is it a commercial radio? Is it a dance station, a religious station?
No.
How do you define? This is very interesting also for other countries.
I had it on one slide. So public service is by law public value. Television doesn't matter. Private commercial stations with special news part of it, and they are defined by the state media authorities. So you can apply for getting public value. This is the process we do every 3 years. Then there are other stations which are given by the law.
Anyone else? Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to pick up on something that Frank said. It's Nick from Radio DNS again. You've been very clear that it's a user decision whether or not they use the public value functionality or not. If we find in 5 years' time that nobody is using it, will the requirement to support it be removed?
This belongs to the lawmaker, to the government. We can address it to them but we're proving that we started, to be honest, in television. We can prove that it's used and many people are interested in. And to make it more complicated, we're working on public value 2.0. So this is a very new thing to get it running.
Okay, we have time for one more. All right. If there's no more further questions.